Vicario, la Biohacker. Y estoy muy contenta, muy entusiasmada por la persona que estoy a punto de entrevistar. Ustedes, la mayoría seguro que ya lo conocen. Él es Sisson, el creador, el fundador, el pionero de todo el movimiento primal, el movimiento de salud primal, salud ancestral. Uno de los pioneros en alimentación keto. Y hoy nos va a contar no solo de esto, no solo sobre ejercicio, alimentación, flexibilidad metabólica, sino también vamos a conocer sus estrategias mentales. Él es triatleta, uno de los campeones de Ironman y además el creador de Primal Kitchen, del cual muchos de nosotros somos fanáticos. Entonces vamos a darle la bienvenida a esta entrevista maravillosa. Thank you so much, Mark, for being today with us.
It's such a pleasure to be with you.
So, Mark, you are the pioneer, the one that brought back all this primal movement, like the recreator of this movement. Why is it important?
Well, you said recreator, and that's important because we lived this way for millions of years. We ate this way, we moved the primal way, until 100 years ago, until 50 years ago. This was how we lived, with natural food, with natural movement, without processed foods, without artificial lights and things that kept us up at night, without digital stimulation. So all of these artifacts of civilization today have had a stressful effect on our bodies. I decided that we really share a lot of genetic material in common. We have a recipe, each of us, that wants us to be strong and fit and healthy and happy and lean and productive. And this recipe is available to anyone who wants to tap into how the body would like to use the genes to repair, rebuild, renew, regenerate, and recreate itself. So the challenge is where does the information come from? How do we tell our bodies to burn fat and not become obese? How do we tell our bodies to build muscle and not atrophy? How do we tell our bodies that it's important to be happy and healthy and not to be sad and in pain all the time? So my life's work is to uncover these hidden genetic switches that we all have, and that's what became the primal blueprint. That's what, and the sort of secret and almost the inside joke is that we've known this all along. That's always been there for us, to eat natural food, to get plenty of sleep, to be out in the sun, to play, to avoid poisonous things. They're pretty simple rules that we ought to follow, and if we follow those rules, we will be happy and healthy.
This is so wonderful. So, which are these rules that we can apply in our everyday life?
So, I will sort of extrapolate the primal blueprint laws, but basically, if we cut out sugars, cut out sweetened beverages, so all of those soda pops and all of the drinks and all of the colas and all of the sweetened coffee drinks, and we get rid of the desserts and the pies and the cakes and the candies and the cookies, and really those are things that we know we should not be eating. At least we should not be eating a lot of them. If we cut out the industrial seed oils, so if you look for foods that have soybean oil, canola oil, corn oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil, those are all very detrimental to our health. If you cut those out and then you just replace them with vegetables, fruits, quality cuts of meat, beef, pork, lamb, chicken, turkey, fish, you have the basis for an ideal diet. And if you can limit your food to those types of choices, and then certainly find ways to prepare them with herbs and spices and sauces and dressings and primal kitchen, then there's an infinite amount of variety to give the taste and the enjoyment that people want that they would otherwise have had to go to get the crunchy, salty, fatty, sweet snacks that the stores have. So that's one thing. And then the other is just find ways to move throughout the day. So exercise does not have to be drudgery. It doesn't have to be, you have to go to the gym and you have to get on the treadmill. No, exercise can be walking through the city, can be walking through a park, can be doing push-ups in your house. And for me, we talked about mental strategies. One of my key mental strategies for exercise is it has to be fun. So I play ultimate frisbee, and there are some great Argentinian frisbee players in Miami now.
Oh.
Yeah, so I play with some ex sort of national team players. I like to do stand-up paddling, on the surfboard paddling. I ride a bike on the beach, which is fun. I have a surfboard that now rides. It's a foil board, so it rides above the waves on a wing. I mean, when I'm exercising, I'm like, I'm gonna have fun. I'm always going to be enjoying the exercise I'm doing. I don't ever want to really have to think about, oh my goodness, when is it going to be over? I like to think, oh darn, it's almost over. I wish we could go another 15 or 20 minutes.
Wow. And how do you get yourself to, let's suppose you are, sitting or doing something without moving. How do you get yourself in your mind? So let's suppose that I am inside your body and your mind, and I'm sitting. How, if I am Mark Sisson, how do I make the decision to stand up and go do the exercise? I mean, do I tell myself with an internal voice? Do I say, yeah, let's go? Or do I see an image? Do I taste it? How do you make that decision?
So a lot of this is a habit. In order to actually form a habit, you need to kind of force yourself to do it a couple of times before it becomes habitual. And then once it becomes habitual, then it's like easy to do. The best example I can use is when I was a runner, I never had fun running. I would run 10, 20 miles a day, 100 miles a week, 160 kilometers a week in training. And it was never fun. It was managing discomfort, and I was good at it, and I was one of the best in the world, but it was not fun. So why would I get up and do that every single day? It just became a habit. It just became part of it was just what I did, right? So I created that habit. Now, I would never want to create that habit again. I haven't run a mile in 20 years. So I just only want to create habits for me that are enjoyable, that are not managing discomfort, but are actually like, wow, this is going to be fun. So if I have an ultimate frisbee game, I'm like, the game starts at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and by 3:15, I'm like, well, if I left now, I'd get there 20 minutes early. But I still want to go. I mean, I want to go early because it's so much fun. So it's not a chore for me to exercise, or if I'm going to go paddling. The decision is basically one of simply, okay, I'm going to stand up and walk out the door and go have fun.
Wow.
And fun can be, my wife, for instance, she walks 6 to 8 miles a day with our neighbor. And they just chat the whole time, and it's like, they're not walking, they're talking. Oh, by the way, they're walking at the same time, but they meet to talk. They just happen to go for a walk.
That's a great strategy.
Yeah.
To combine with something fun.
Yeah.
And to combine with someone you like and you have fun with, or combine it with a fun activity. That's so amazing.
So I have a friend who's visiting us now. He has a Fitbit. He wants to get 15,000 steps a day. He does business calls. And on his phone, he walks up and down the block while he's talking. And he picked a place where there's no noise, and it's, he can hear on the phone very well, but he's multitasking while he's having a business meeting, a serious business meeting. Oh, and he's getting, 10,000 steps in.
That's a wonderful strategy. I'm taking notes in my head. That's so amazing.
Yeah.
And also, coming back to what you were telling us before about nutrition and diet, your latest book is Keto for Life, Keto para la Vida. Many people are talking about keto, right? It's one of the most searched words in internet. A lot of talk about keto, but many people don't know what it is. How would you explain for someone that would think, I really don't know what is keto? How would you explain it in a simple, like Keto 101?
Okay. So a ketogenic diet is a diet that teaches your body how to burn fat. So how to take the fat that's stored on your body and use it as fuel, instead of relying or depending on having to eat carbohydrates at every meal. Now, most people throughout their lives have become what we call carbohydrate dependent. They need to eat bread and crackers and orange juice and waffles and pancakes and toast and cereal and maize and tortillas and rice and all of these things because they think that's what they need for energy. And the truth is they don't need any of those for energy. The body is very capable of taking the fat on your body and using it as fuel for long periods of time. So the idea behind a ketogenic diet is, number one, to achieve what we call metabolic flexibility.
Metabolic flexibility.
This describes your body's ability to extract energy from fat, from carbohydrate, from glucose, from glycogen, from ketones, from all the different fuels that are present in your body. But if you don't develop metabolic flexibility, you become dependent on one fuel, and that's glucose, carbohydrates. So if you don't achieve metabolic flexibility, it doesn't mean that your life is horrible. It just means that you're probably going to gain weight. You're probably going to have a difficult time with your blood sugar, with managing blood glucose. You may become diabetic over time. So the idea behind the ketogenic diet is how do I achieve metabolic flexibility? I do that by withholding carbohydrate and teaching my body, or forcing my body, to burn the fat and to build the metabolic machinery to burn the fat. Because if you don't undergo this process, the body doesn't even make the machinery. The body just says, we're good at burning sugar, that's all we know how to do. We don't need to make any machinery that burns fat because this person is still going to just keep feeding me carbohydrates the rest of my life. Well, when you withhold the carbohydrates, the body knows exactly what to do, and it starts building metabolic flexibility through mitochondria, these little powerhouses that burn fat. So you increase the number of mitochondria. You become better at burning fat. And then your liver takes some of your stored fat and makes this super fuel that we call ketones. And ketones are very safe, they're very natural. They're the reason that humans have survived for millions of years. The brain loves to run on ketones, it prefers ketones. Cardiac muscle, the heart prefers ketones. And you develop this metabolic machinery, this metabolic flexibility, this metabolic efficiency that then causes you to trend toward your ideal body composition. So instead of storing body fat, you burn off your body fat and you become leaner and stronger. You sleep better, your brain works better, and almost like most importantly, you get a hold of hunger, appetite, and cravings. So hunger no longer like dictates your day. You no longer have to think about scheduling meetings because no, we can't do that. That's lunchtime, and we can't miss lunch. Or I'm going to be traveling in a plane across the country, and oh my gosh, I'll be flying during dinner time. What will I do for dinner? When you're metabolically flexible and you're burning body fat, it doesn't matter. And so people go, they're no longer dependent on the regular meal schedule. And then over time, people tend to choose to maybe skip 1 or 2 meals every day. Not because they're forcing themselves to skip a meal, but because it feels more comfortable to skip a meal.
Wow, that's an amazing explanation. So it's good for our brain, it's good for our heart, it's good for longevity too?
Yes. So one thing that happens with a keto way of living is that when you do restrict the carbohydrates and you kind of force the body to burn fat and to use ketones, then if you go a day or so without eating, the body says, there's not a lot of extraneous nutrition coming in, so I'm going to use this opportunity to do some housekeeping and to clean house and to burn, to actually combust for fuel damaged proteins or damaged fats, to make some repairs in the DNA of the cell. So it becomes, there's a sort of a longevity, anti-aging component to keto, that as you become good at keto and as you become metabolically flexible and you choose to go periods of time without eating, that's when the housekeeping takes effect. So we have a saying in the keto community that all the good things happen to the human body when you're not eating. Now, eating is fun and it's pleasurable and it's exciting and it's tasty and it's, and it has all this great hedonistic experience, but nothing good is happening physiologically with the body while you're eating. From your body's point of view, you're just adding more fuel, but the good stuff happens all the time you're not eating.
Wow.
Yeah. Which is not to say that you should, force yourself to not eat. One of my rule number one is don't let yourself get too hungry. Don't set yourself up for agony. But when I talk to people who've been on a 2-day fast and they say, I started my fast yesterday, and I didn't mean to start a fast. I just forgot to eat yesterday. I wasn't hungry, and I forgot to eat, and so it doesn't matter because I know that I'm getting energy from this metabolic flexibility. Forgot to eat, so I went to bed. I felt great. Went to bed. Woke up the next morning. Didn't feel like eating, and then around lunchtime, I felt a little bit hungry, so I had a lunch. That's another type of flexibility that we get, which is this ability to just, again, not be tied to a schedule and to have all the energy you need and all the mental capacity you need to go through the entire day without needing to eat. Now, if you want to eat, and I eat most days. Most days I eat my first meal at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon at 1300 hours. And then I eat maybe a small dinner at 7 or 8 o'clock. I don't feel hungry. I don't feel compelled to eat more than that. Some days I eat 1 meal a day, and that's fine. And it's like the last couple of days I had 1 meal a day. It's so empowering to understand that you don't need to be, that you're so efficient at what you do, that your body is working so well that you don't have to stop everything and chow down on some terrible food, right?
Wow, I love it. And I'm so interested in digging a little bit more on your mental strategies and tactics. So if you can tell us what you do when you wake up, if you have something that, okay, for my mind I do this, for my body I do this. What you do when you wake up and what you do before going to sleep.
So when I wake up in the morning, I have a cup of coffee, and then I read 2 newspapers, 2 actual newspapers, not on a digital thing, but 2 actual newspapers, and then in the New York Times I do the crossword puzzle and a couple of number puzzles, because that's just I like my favorite thing to do to get the day started is to use my brain doing crosswords and puzzles and things like that. And then I head straight to doing some amount of work, some answering emails, or if I'm working on a book, I do some writing. Around 9:30 or 10 o'clock, I take a break and go have some fun. So either ride my fat bike up the beach, or go paddling, or if I have an ultimate frisbee game, I'll do that. Come back, do some more work. Again, I might have a lunch at like 1:30 or 2 o'clock or something like that. More work, and then how I end my day is prior to this COVID thing, I live in a building where we have a sauna and a cold plunge. And so I'll do 10 minutes of sauna and then maybe 5 to 8 minutes in the cold water. Yeah, and then warm up a little bit more in a jacuzzi for 2 minutes and then go to bed and sleep like a baby.
Oh,
Yeah.
only listening to you imagining this makes me feel that sensation.
I'm very fortunate to have access to those sorts of things. But when I lived in I lived in Malibu before I lived in Miami Beach, and I had a pool. Again, very fortunate to have a pool, but I never heated it. So in the wintertime, the pool would be 48 degrees, 52 degrees Fahrenheit. Go in every night before dinner, and my wife, who doesn't like to do the cold part, but she likes to do we had a jacuzzi. So we do, and that's our quiet time before we go to bed. But that was for us better than binge watching TV, and normally, ideally, if you're trying to recreate the primal experience, we have a light, a fire pit, they call them. So we would have a fire pit going and the jacuzzi and the cold plunge.
Wow,
Yeah.
that makes so much sense than what many people do, like watching the TV or scrolling in the social media. So this is so awesome information, so practical. Is there anything else that you would like to tell the audience that is listening to all this content, that is knowing this, mostly people in Latin America and the Spanish-speaking world?
Yeah, so I would say that the one kind of concept to keep in your mind is that no matter what your situation is right now, today, this is today, this is the first day of the rest of your life, that anything that happened in the past can be forgotten, that you can change your mind today and start embodying this kind of a lifestyle. And it doesn't require going all in. You don't have to do all of it. You can do little steps, and maybe you start with the diet part. Maybe you just start with cutting out sugared beverages, sweetened beverages. Maybe you start by looking at labels and looking for processed foods that contain canola oil, these industrial seed oils that are so bad. Maybe you start committing to walking with a friend for 20 minutes, 4 times a week, and the goal is not to walk, you will be walking, but the goal is to have a heartfelt conversation with the friend and make it enjoyable. And again, find ways to incorporate all of this into your lifestyle so that over time you find yourself living a primal lifestyle. And then you find yourself maybe selectively cutting out some carbs, and maybe you find yourself adding a little bit of weights into your routine, or maybe finding a game that you can play. Maybe you start paying attention to how much sleep you're getting and you improve your sleep. Don't ever apologize for getting too much sleep. I know people who say, they brag about, I get by on 5 hours of sleep a night or 4 hours of sleep a night. I'm like, no, I brag because I got 10 hours last night and I felt great about it.
Me too. Yes, when you need it, it's so important to give the body what the body needs, right?
Correct.
This is so amazing. So, to close this interview, I will tell you something funny when I teach my audience, or when I tell my audience or my students about the keto diet. Do you know a little bit of Spanish?
Piquito.
Un poquito. So I tell them te keto mucho. It's similar to te quiero mucho,
yeah.
but we say te keto mucho.
Te keto mucho, yeah. I get it. I love it, yeah.
And this is how we greet when we talk about this, or we get together to have a keto meal, and we are, this is awesome, te keto mucho.
That's great. I love it.
Well, thank you so much for this amazing interview. Thank you. You can know more about Mark Sisson in his latest book, and we are going to put his webpage here.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.